Hi everyone. I know it's been a long time since I made a video. I don't really have an excuse. I just didn't really feel like making videos. I have moved. Beautiful apartment, brand new apartment. I love it. It's exciting. I don't really know what my recording situation is. Like obviously my setup's behind me, but I don't really like the background behind me there. So I'm filming here because I like this background better, but I don't really have a good setup for like my mic and stuff, and it's still kind of quiet. Is that better? Anyways, so I'm gonna be holding this like I'm a commentary YouTuber. I could put it down, but then it's like in my face. So I'm just gonna hold it. I'm not gonna talk about like all the books I read between June and now. I was in a little bit of a reading slump between June and like August, so like over the summer kind of. But I'm out of it now. I'm kind of back to what I was reading. Not quite May. May was kind of wild, but back to like April levels of reading, if that makes any sense to anyone. So like I'm around like, like 13 to 15 books a month. I think I read 16 in October. I'll probably make a video for October. I might skip October and just start a November review again. I'm not really sure. But there are a couple books I read that I just feel like I really want to talk about from that span. So I'm going to talk about those and just kind of share my thoughts on those like I would in a normal review. The first set of books I want to talk about are the Roots of Chaos series. I really, really, really like these books. I mean, they look really intimidating, but they're really only like 850 pages. Like they're nothing crazy. This is the prequel. This is like book 0, but she wrote it. It's a prequel, so she wrote it after. This is the first book she wrote. And it's just so good. I heard someone describe it as like feminist Game of Thrones. And as I started Game of Thrones and I couldn't finish it because of all the violence against women in it. And I feel like describing this as feminist Game of Thrones is like honestly pretty fitting. Like I stand by that. Whatever, I don't even remember who said it. Someone on TikTok said it. I stand by that. They were really good. It's this fun kind of secret organization trying to protect the queen. It's very heavy on the world building, but it was like insane world building. It was some of the best world building I've read probably other than like Brandon Sanderson. So incredible. I gave this one 5 stars and I gave this one 4 stars just because this is essentially, I read this after because I wanted to read them in release order, and this just felt like the exact same story told again. I think it takes place like 300 years in the past or something like that. I forget exactly, 400. And it's good, but it's the same story. And I already read the story. So reading the exact same story again, it's still a good story, but like I just read it. I didn't. So these 2 books are kind of the culprit for putting me in a reading slump just because they're very wordy, very prose, very like flowery prose, which I think just takes me a little bit longer to read. But it was still, I mean, it was still decent. Especially, I forget her name. What's the Glorian, the princess. She was probably my favorite character in this one. I really, really liked Glorian. She was really just, it's really sad. Oh, I have a cat, by the way, so if you're hearing weird noises in the background, I don't know what he's doing, but he's going a little crazy over there. But anyways, Glorian was like really good in this. And then what's her name? Ede. Yeah, Ede in this was definitely my favorite character. And I think that's implied. Ede is kind of the main character in this. But there were so many good reveals in this and like twists that I did not see coming. But then they used the exact same twists and reveals in the prequel book. And it's like, well, if I hadn't read that, sure. But I already know, so like the reveal didn't do anything for me. Next, I want to talk about some of the Brandon Sanderson books that I've been getting caught up for my trip in December. So I did read Elantris, Warbreaker, and Emperor's Soul. So the only one I have left, oh, and Sunlit Man. So the only one that I have left now is Yumi and the Nightmare Painter, and a couple of the other short stories that is in his Arcanum Unbounded. Elantris, I think I gave it like 4 stars. I forget, 4.5. It was good. I think it definitely reads like a debut. I think, I don't know. It didn't blow me away. The romance was okay, but it wasn't great. And I particularly really liked what's his name? I can't remember names. I forget his name. The priest guy, this guy, Hag, it's something weird. He's a weird name. But anyways, I really liked him, his whole character. I always liked the kind of morally gray, is he going to be good, is he going to be evil kind of character. In this, that's Nicholas in this, fucking also really good. And in this one, it's the priest, I forget his name. And it's just, I love seeing like which way they're gonna go. Cause I feel like the trope goes either way. Like sometimes they end up doing something good and sometimes they end up doing something bad. So I was just curious, like what's the trope gonna be? So yeah, this was good. Warbreaker, I think was definitely worse. I think I gave it 3.5. The romance was real bad in that. I didn't like the romance in that. I think the, B-plot with the sister running around was really boring. Nightblood fucking saved that book, man. Nightblood's so fucking cool. And I think the idea of like the gods walking among people, very similar to Elantris, is a really cool idea. I think Elantris executes it better than Warbreaker. Obviously, it's very different interpretations of it. But Warbreaker just, I think the idea of the hair changing color based on your mood, fucking cool. I love that idea. That was really cool. I mean, the magic system in both of these books, the awakenings, the breaths, that's so fucking cool in Warbreaker. That's probably my favorite part of it, is definitely the magic system. The A&D or whatever the fuck is called in Elantris, not for me, man. They have a fucking chart in the book that explains all the different symbols. It's a book. I don't know what the symbols look like when they're describing them. You want me to sit there and analyze, oh, it's a square with a line and then reference the fucking pictures at the back? Hell no, I ain't doing that. So that I didn't care for that magic system. I think in the future, in the second Elantris book, or Hope of Elantris, which I haven't read yet, that'll maybe be better, but no, that wasn't for me. Sunlit Man, amazing. Obviously a very late Cosmere book. I would say that should probably, if you end up reading through the Cosmere, Sunlit Man should be, at least as of now, should be like the last book you read. Like, it's got spoilers for Stormlight in it, it's got spoilers for Mistborn in it, but it's really, really good. It's really fun. I haven't read a ton of sci-fi, and it was really fun seeing Brandon's take on sci-fi. And I think the planet was just super cool. It's like 4-hour days. It's a really small planet, and so the sun is so close to it that if during the daytime on that planet it's like so hot that you get like incinerated. So they're like constantly like the whole city is built on like these big spaceships, or they're like planes, I guess, like hovercraft, and they just like fly around to escape the sun because the sun will kill them. It's a really cool idea, and I think the character work in that was really good. And then what's left? Oh, Emperor Soul. Emperor Soul, greatest thing that Brandon Sanderson has ever written, like hands down. It's a really short novella. It's probably got like 4 characters in it, maybe 5, and it is the best thing he's ever written. It won some award that I don't remember the name of, a Hugo Award. It won the Hugo Award, which it deserves. Not that I know what the Hugo Award is, but it deserves every award because it's the best book he's ever written. At first, I was kind of like, can I give this 5 stars? It's a novella. And then I thought about it, and I was like, yeah, she needs 5 stars. It was like real good. The character work, man. The character work. Moving on from Brandon Sanderson, favorite author, you should read him. I did finish the Folk in the Air series. I think in my May review, I read Cruel Prince. I did end up buying a physical copy of it. I don't have the other 2 books in the trilogy yet, but I do want to get physical copies of those. I also read the duology with Oak in it. I have no complaints about this series. I think it's definitely YA, so it's got like that I'm a young girl and I'm the most powerful to ever do it kind of thing, but I didn't mind it. And all of the backstabbing and the like, who can I trust? And I don't know, like it's just so fun. And I really like that. I would say my favorite in the series is probably Wicked King, just because I was really into the romance in it. It's like a great romance. It is a subplot, and I think I went into that not knowing this. This is not a romantasy. I mean, it is kind of, but it's really just a YA fantasy that has a good romance subplot. And I have like 100 quotes from this series saved, and they're all just Carden saying how like he's like head over heels in love with Jude. I think the 3rd book has a lot of really cool stuff, but the ending, okay, quick spoilers here for the end of the Folk in the Air series. I normally don't do spoilers, but I have to say this. Skip ahead if you don't want to hear this. he turns into a giant serpent and she has to kill him, but then he's inside the serpent. I get that it's like a curse and she like solved the puzzle or whatever, but that was dumb as hell. But I really like this. And I think Jude's family, surprisingly, was like really endearing, even though they're like kidnapped her and stuff. Anyways, it's good. I do have to talk about Fourth Wing. I did read it. I haven't read Iron Flame yet. It's on my list. I had to get the special edition paperback. I listened to this on audiobook, but I had to get a physical copy, obviously. So fun! I think it's definitely overhyped, but I also think it's overhated, if that makes sense. Like, obviously on TikTok, everyone's like, Fourth Wing, Fourth Wing, Fourth Wing. And I'm like, it's not that good. Like, I've read a million other books that are better. But it also gets a lot of hate because people are like, oh, I don't read the book talk books. I'm too good for that. And like, girl, give it a chance. Like, it's fun. Like, there's absolutely nothing special about this. I think Violet's extremely annoying. I think the nickname Violence makes me want to puke, but it's fun and look at the cool edges. And I've heard Iron Flame is bad, but I've also heard it's good from my friend, so I'll read it. I requested it on Libby, but I've got a lot of other books I'm reading that I want to read more than this. But oh, it's so pretty. I would buy this book just even if I don't read it, just because look how pretty it is. But it's worth reading if you like romantasy. If you don't like romance, don't read it because it's a horrible fantasy book. Next, I do want to quick talk about, I started the Wheel of Time series. I'm only one book in. I haven't even started the second book, so I don't really have a whole lot to say considering it's a 14-book series. But so far, meh. I don't really feel too strongly either way about the series, if I'm being honest. The character work is extremely disappointing to me. I need a good, strong, like a relationship, emotional connection to the characters for me to care, especially in a 14-book series. And I don't feel like I have that with any character yet. I expect a lot of backstabbing and people who appear to be good but actually have ulterior motives, which I'm down for, and I'm hoping that comes up in the later books. But yeah, so far I don't have a lot to say. I just wanted to let y'all know I'm trying this series. I will not be finishing this before December. I know Brandon wrote the last 2 or 3 books in the series, but I will not be finishing that before December. Other few books I want to talk about, I don't have physical copies of them. I either read them on my Kindle or listened to them on audiobook. I read the Jadebone series because Fonda Lee is going to be at the event in December. I thought it was really good. I think it gets a little too carried away in like the wider politics of the world in the later books that I didn't care about as much. But the characters are really, really cool, which is dumb to say, but they're flawed, but I still love them. Like Hilo, like he's like the world's shittiest man, kind of, not really, but like he's so complex because like he's done all these really awful things that I would like immediately be like, oh no, I could never like a character who does that. But then he does all these other things and I'm like, I kind of like you, Hilo. And I think that's really impressive that someone was able to write a character that multifaceted, that I have such mixed feelings about, that I can't just be like, yes, I love this character, oh my god, I want to defend him with my life, or oh my god, I hate this character, when does he die? Like, you know, like it's weird. I feel like that's rare in a lot of books. I wanted to talk about the Farseer trilogy because I did finish that. Pretty good. And by pretty good, I mean amazing. I think, I don't know, a lot of people say the third book is their favorite. And I think it kind of lost steam. Like, it got a little too long. It's obviously a very, very slow paced series. I mean, it's like we're crawling at a snail's pace to get to the point of this book, which I think it was like a little too slow for me. And I think that's maybe why Wheel of Time isn't working for me the way it does for other fantasy readers. I think even with really good character work, a slow paced story is hard for me to keep my brain going, you know? And I think the Farseer trilogy is like that. Every single character in that book, oh my god, the complex, my heart, there's a little piece of my heart that's just reserved for like the Farseer boys. And oh my god, those characters, man. And Molly, oh my god, I feel so bad for her, that poor girl. But I love all those characters and I love that book, those books, all of them. But the first book was my favorite. I think seeing Fitz come into, I mean, origin stories for me are almost always the best. It's why a lot of people like the first book, like Way of Kings, way better. It's why I like Jade City better, and as why I like that's why I like the first Farseer trilogy book as well. I think it's just more, I don't know. I like the introductions to the world. I think I like it that it's low fantasy. I think it's really cool. I like the idea of the wit power, where you can like have a bond with an animal. It was very clearly inspired by Wheel of Time, in my opinion. As there's a character in here who's literally just like 35-year-old midlife crisis fits. But I am excited. I have the Ship of Magic series. Is that what it's called? I have the first book in that series on my shelf. I just haven't on my floor, but I haven't started it yet because it's probably gonna be really slow and kind of boring, and I'm not there for that. Another book that I read that I really, really like am obsessed with is Sword of Kaijin by ML Wong. I just finished it, so I maybe have recency bias, but this is probably one of the greatest books I've ever read. Definitely one of the greatest fantasy books I've ever read. I haven't sorted it yet. I have a list of my top 10 favorite books this year. I don't think I've added it in yet, but I have a feeling it's gonna be like 6, 5, I don't know. Fucking incredible. Oh my god, fucking incredible. Talking about character work. Hi, my name is Emma Wong, and I know how to write fucking characters. Jesus Christ. Misaki, the basically main character of the book, is one of the best, other than maybe Fitz, Farseer, is probably the most well-written character I've ever read. She is so I mean, I was talking about that with like Jade City, right? Like Hilo being really complex. I mean, I can't remember her name. Misaki is like infinitely more layered than that. I think it's so interesting. I think especially just because I am a woman is maybe part of it, but seeing women that aren't just either YA best to ever do it, I'm so badass, no one will ever doubt me, like Violet or Feyre or fucking Jude or whatever, right? You know, like they're the best to ever do it. No one can ever doubt them. That's fine, especially in YA, or new adult, like I just listed. But it's so much cooler to me when the characters are flawed and when they can't do everything perfectly. And like Misaki, she's a mother, and she's kind of a shitty mother, but it's because of the situation she's been forced into. And same with like, she's a fighter. And she's good, but she's not like the greatest fighter ever. She's married to the greatest fighter ever, and that's how she knows that she's not the greatest fighter ever. And it's like she wants to speak up, but she can't speak up. And it's like such a good story about like misogyny in traditional cultures, because it's an urban fantasy, which I did not know going into it. It's an urban fantasy, but it's almost set in like a traditional fantasy because of how like backwards the culture is. And it's really interesting seeing like the dichotomy of like, not tourists, but like the outsiders coming in and seeing how traditionalistic their culture is, and how Misaki used to have all this freedom when she was out in the urban world, when she was basically a fucking superhero, and then now she's like just a mom who hates her life. And I think that's just such an interesting character to write about. And I think her arc is probably one of the greatest character arcs, second to maybe only Dalinar Colin in the Stormlight Archive series. I like have no notes. I gave that book 6 stars. It's incredibly good. I can't wait to read. I forget the name of the book. It's something with blood in the title. But I will be reading the other Emma Wong book. I think she only has 2, or at least 2 that I've heard of. But when women know how to write people in fantasy, women know how to write really compelling characters, at least in my opinion, ones that really connect with me. Jade City, Fonda Lee, written by a woman. Farseer trilogy, Robin Hobb, written by a woman. Sword of Kaijin, written by ML Wong, a woman. Even like Babel, written by Rebecca Kwong, a woman. And I think female authors like fucking get it done. I'm not saying male authors can't. Like obviously Brandon Sanderson, I love his work, but his character work leaves a lot to be desired sometimes. Not always. Stormlight Archive really pulls it off, but especially like in the Mistborn series, I didn't really care for a lot of the character work in second era especially. And just saying, women know how to write fucking emotional ass scenes. That's impressive. Now the last couple things I want to talk about Just some of the romance books I've been reading. I always am reading romance, just kind of in the background as I'm reading my epic Dragon Wars or whatever the fuck else I'm reading about. I have been reading a decent amount of Ali Hazelwood. I haven't finished all her work. I really only read Love Hypothesis, her debut, which I liked enough. I thought it was good. It's definitely got that Ali Hazelwood quirk to it, which if you don't like, you won't like that. It's like very millennial cringe humor, and like he's so big and she's so small, and like, you know, whatever, classic Ali Hazelwood. But I enjoy it. I think it's fine. And I started to go on like a cowboy romance kick a little bit, not like a ton, but a few books. I really like Lila Sage's. It's called Blue Ranch Saga, I think is what it's called. I've read the first 2 books, Done and Dusted and Swift and Saddled, and I will be getting Lost and Lassoed. I will be reading it. My friend bought it, and I will be borrowing it from her. And what else? Oh, yeah. Should I mention Abby Jimenez? Maybe the world's greatest romance author to ever exist. I have to maybe slow that down a little bit. When I read her newest books first, and then went back and read her older books. And the only book I haven't read of hers yet is Yours Truly, I believe, is the only one I have left. I read all her other ones. And the first couple books of hers I read were all like 5 stars. Just for the summer, Part of Your World and Life's Too Short. Part of Your World is my favorite romance novel. I can't believe I forgot that. But those 3 are like incredibly good. Every single one of those I gave 5 stars. Part of Your World I gave 6 stars. I think they're the best romance novels I've read. They're more rom dramas, I guess I would say, where they have a lot more real world problems and a lot of, I mean, they definitely have comedic moments, but I would say they're closer to more serious than like an Emily Henry book, which is definitely like Book Lovers, second favorite now romance novel I read. Definitely a rom-com, right? I mean, there's like a couple emotional moments, but it's basically like we're laughing our ass off at all these funny jokes and all the banter and blah, blah, blah. And there's a little bit of that in Abby Jimenez, but it's much more serious. I really like her books. The older ones I cared for less. The Friend Zone was like complete ass. It's one of the worst romance novels I've read, at least contemporary romance novels. It's deals with like infertility, and I think Abby Jimenez's strong feat is that she can write really sensitive topics in a very tactful way. The world deals with domestic abuse. Life's Too Short deals with like chronic illness, and hi honey. And Just for the Summer, I guess, is a little less serious, but I mean, it deals with like being a single parent, and like I said, it deals with some like adoptive family and being abandoned and that kind of stuff, abandonment issues. So I mean, they all have like very serious topics, and I think Abby Jimenez deals with them in a really, really good way, where I think in her earlier books she was attempting to do that, but but I don't think she succeeded. Can you doubt? But I just don't think she really succeeded. I think it comes off really gross and insensitive, especially the ending in Friend Zone, and in the other Happy Ever playlist, or whatever the fuck it's called. That one was just boring. Sorry. But I read Elsie Silver as well. We're gonna have to keep talking romance. I read some Elsie Silver. Wasn't the biggest fan of it. It's all right. I liked Wild Eyes, but I also read Wild Love, and I have Flawless on my shelf, and I don't know. I'm not the biggest fan of them, but we'll see. I haven't tried all of them. I'm gonna give her a fair shot. So that kind of gets everything caught up on where I'm at for reading. I mean, obviously I read a lot of other books other than that, but those are the kind of the ones that I wanted to point out that I feel are worth pointing out, that I mean, I still remember enough about them to talk about now, which I think is a good sign of a good book. If you want to know like day to day what I'm reading, what I'm up to, I have my Goodreads account, which you can follow. It'll be linked down below. I also have Storygraph. I don't usually post reviews on Storygraph though. Thanks for tuning in and catching up with me. Like I said, I maybe will post an October review. I'll definitely post a November review. If you want to keep up with my reviews from day to day, they're on Goodreads. And yeah. Thanks for tuning in. Bye.